What happens to those who try to fight the Antichrist? Jesus warned us. Have you ever wondered why so many Christians talk about fighting the Antichrist? Standing up, battling evil, waging spiritual warfare against the beast? But what if I told you something that might shake your faith to its core? Jesus never actually told us to fight him. In fact, what Jesus really said is so shocking that it might completely transform how you view the end times. One day, a man will emerge on the world stage. He'll be everything our broken world craves. Charismatic, seemingly powerful, wildly popular. The kind of leader who makes you feel safe just by listening to him speak. But beneath that magnetic charm, a darkness so profound, it defies description. 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4 reveals his true nature. The man of sin, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God. Think about that for a moment. This isn't just another corrupt politician or false teacher. This is someone who will systematically deceive the entire world, even some who consider themselves faithful believers. He'll demand something no human deserves, worship reserved only for God. And those who refuse to bow, let me be blunt, he will try to utterly destroy them. So what's our response supposed to be? What did Jesus actually tell his followers to do when this terrifying figure rises to power? That's the question that changes everything. Jesus didn't leave this crucial detail up to our imagination or interpretation. In the midst of describing the most terrifying period in human history, he gave us precise instructions about this exact moment. In Matthew 24:21, Jesus described it with chilling clarity. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Stop and truly absorb what he's saying. This isn't just another difficult season. It's not comparable to any persecution the church has ever faced. It's the final overwhelming surge of evil breaking upon the world. A time when the Antichrist will dominate through sophisticated lies, paralyzing fear, and brutal force. Jesus saw this coming, and he warned us specifically how to respond. Not with the weapons you might expect. Not with righteous anger. Not with physical resistance. Not with elaborate battle strategies. Instead, with a command so straightforward that countless believers will tragically ignore it, thinking they know better. When Jesus delivered his end times warnings in Matthew 24, he wasn't being cryptic. This wasn't one of his parables that needed careful unpacking. He spoke with unmistakable clarity. He methodically listed signs his followers should watch for. False messiahs arising to mislead many. Wars erupting and rumors of worse conflicts to come. Nation battling against nation. Kingdom against kingdom. Famines spreading. Earthquakes shaking foundations. Persecution intensifying. But then, and this is where most people miss it, he gave one specific instruction that completely disrupts the pattern of what most believers expect to do. I wonder if you're ready to hear what it is. When you see this one event, the abomination of desolation, he doesn't say, be brave. He doesn't say, stand up. He doesn't say, take back your country. He says something that might shock you. Let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Matthew 24, verse 16. Just think about that for a moment. The Son of God, the ultimate warrior, tells his people to run, not prepare for battle, not organize resistance, but to escape, immediately. You know, we live in a culture that celebrates standing your ground, fighting back, being the hero. But what if I told you that sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is flee? And here's where it gets really interesting. Jesus doesn't just casually suggest leaving. Look at the urgency in his words. If you're relaxing on your rooftop, don't even go back inside your house. If you're working in the field, leave your coat behind. If you're pregnant or nursing, pray for strength because it will be harder. If it happens in winter or on Sabbath, it might be almost impossible to get away. I'm going to share something in just a few minutes about why this specific event, the abomination of desolation, triggers such an extreme response from Jesus. The answer might surprise you. But first, we need to understand this critical warning. Here's something that stops most believers in their tracks. In this moment, Jesus doesn't tell you to pray about what to do. He's already told you what to do. Think about it. We're taught that prayer is always the first response, right? But in this instance, Jesus has already given the command. The time for deliberation is over. And here's the sobering reality. Those who pause to seek God's will in that moment might actually be disobeying the very instructions he's already provided. While they're praying for guidance, while they're gathering possessions, while they're saying goodbyes, the window of escape will slam shut. Now pay close attention to what Jesus actually tells them to pray for in verses 20-21. Pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Did you catch that subtle distinction? He doesn't say, pray it doesn't happen. He says, pray about the timing of your escape. He assumes complete obedience to the flee command. The only question is whether circumstances will make that flight easier or harder. In a few moments, I'm going to reveal exactly what this abomination of desolation is and why Jesus considered it the ultimate trigger point. The historical patterns will make this crystal clear, and you'll understand why so many well-meaning believers might miss this critical moment. But before we get there, here's perhaps the most dangerous trap of all. Some believers will convince themselves they're being courageous by staying to fight. They'll see themselves as modern-day Davids facing Goliath. They'll quote scriptures about standing firm against the enemy. They'll rally others to resist. And in doing so, they'll be directly disobeying the explicit command of Jesus himself. This isn't a test of courage. It's a test of obedience. When we continue, you'll discover the historical pattern that makes this warning so crucial, and why Jesus placed this particular moment at the absolute center of his end times teaching. Are you ready to see what most prophecy teachers miss entirely? Here's a chilling truth that few are brave enough to discuss. Even bravery can become rebellion when it's outside of obedience. And Jesus didn't say, "Blessed are those who fight the beast." He said, "Blessed are those who endure to the end." Matthew 24:13. What if everything you've been taught about standing your ground in the last days is actually setting you up for spiritual disaster? As we continue, I'm going to reveal what the abomination actually is, what it looks like in real life, and the exact moment when you'll need to make a life-altering decision. But fair warning, what I'm about to share might challenge everything you thought you knew about end times preparation. Because when Jesus says, "Run," don't pause, don't think, don't argue, just move. And here's why this matters more than you realize. In the final hour, obedience will matter more than courage, and faith will look less like fighting, and more like fleeing with trust. I know what you're thinking. For some people, running sounds like fear, like surrender. But have you considered this? In the Bible, running is sometimes the greatest form of obedience. Think about it. Joseph ran from Potiphar's wife, a man who chose purity over confrontation. David ran from Saul, even though he had multiple chances to kill him and solve the problem. Even Jesus himself, when the crowd tried to throw him off a cliff in Luke 4, simply walked away. This pattern reveals something profound that most churches never teach. Because the mission wasn't to fight. The mission was to finish. There are moments to stand, and moments to flee. And in the time of the Antichrist, Jesus specifically said to flee. Here's where the tension rises, and where you'll need discernment most. Some believers won't listen to Christ's actual commands. They'll say, "We have to fight. We have to stand our ground." And what will they do? They'll take up weapons. They'll go after the system. They'll resist with violence. But have you ever wondered what happens to these well-meaning rebels? Revelation 13:7 gives the sobering answer, "And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them." Let that sink in for a moment. The Antichrist is actually allowed to win for a season. Those who try to fight him in the flesh, they will be crushed. Why would God allow this? The answer might surprise you. Because this is not a physical war. It's a spiritual judgment. And the only way to survive it is to obey Jesus. But wait, you might be thinking, aren't we supposed to stand for truth? Yes, absolutely. But truth is not defended with rage or revenge. Truth is lived out in faith and endurance. Revelation 14:12 says, "Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus." And what if your greatest weapon against the Antichrist isn't fighting at all? It's something far more powerful, something that most believers have completely overlooked. We'll get to that crucial revelation in just a moment. This is where many will fall into deception. They will read about the beast, the mark, the image, and think, "We have to stop this ourselves." But that's not what Jesus said. Have you ever noticed there's no scene in Revelation where the church launches a rebellion and defeats the Antichrist? I'm about to show you why this matters more than you could possibly imagine. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the world as we know it suddenly changed forever? In fact, Revelation 13:10 gives us a sobering glimpse. "He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints." This isn't just ancient text on a page. It's a warning that echoes through time directly to us today. If you take up the sword in the wrong season, you may fall by it. But there's something deeper here that most people miss entirely. This isn't just about survival. It's about faithfulness when everything is on the line.